Hi friends, welcome back to 5 Minute Modern. My name is Cindy, and today we're talking about how my egg cracked in a Cindy Sherman exhibit. In internet slang, the egg crack moment is the moment when someone realizes that they're trans. If someone is trans but doesn't yet realize it, they're called an egg. When they finally do realize that they're trans, the egg cracks and they come out of their shell as something new. I actually think it's kind of a lovely metaphor. This moment of realizing that one is trans, cracking the metaphorical egg, is always something of a process, and it looks a little different for everybody. But today, I want to talk about what that process looked like for me and how it tied in with the photography of Cindy Sherman. To start, I think it's worth acknowledging that, like many trans people, I had a sense that something was misaligned with my gender identity going back to early childhood. At that time, the late 90s and early 2000s, there wasn't really much conversation about gender identity, so I didn't really know what to do or even who to talk to. I thought that I was the only one that felt this way. I tried to repress my feelings, I tried to ignore them. I tried very hard to fit in and be the boy that everyone seemed to expect me to be. I graduated college and moved to Los Angeles in 2015, right around the so-called trans tipping point, where there was suddenly a lot more representation of trans people in mainstream society. I was thinking through what all these changes might mean for me, while also still trying to get my bearings in my new hometown. I found LA pretty intimidating at first, so in an effort to get to know the city better, I started going to all of its art museums. Then, as now, going to art museums was my favorite thing to do, and it so happened that a brand new modern art museum had just opened in downtown LA called The Broad. For their inaugural exhibition, The Broad had a show on Cindy Sherman, a photographer I'd heard of but didn't know too much about. So one morning I set out early and went to see it. Right away, Sherman's work spoke to me. As a lifelong cinema lover with a particular taste for the moody Italian and French dramas Sherman imitated in her Untitled film stills series, I felt fluent in Sherman's working vernacular. And yet, as much as I felt I understood Sherman's influences, I began to notice there was something else underneath them. Things became more clear as I moved from the Untitled film stills to the portion of the exhibit on Sherman's history photos. Sherman stages all of her photos, acting as her own model, but in her history series, she deliberately lets the facade slip a bit. The makeup is thick and poorly blended. The props and prostheses are visibly fake. Sherman calls our attention to the constructed nature of our collected image of history, implying that our shared understandings are based less on exact transcriptions of fact than on artifice, and flagrantly obvious artifice at that. Continuing through the exhibit, I continued to see that blatant artifice in every photo, in every wig, outfit, makeup job, and pose. Sherman had used these building blocks to create fully articulated yet plainly false personas, as detailed and recognizable as someone you might see on the street, yet capable of being taken on and off at will, as if Sherman was merely playing dress-up, which of course she was. At that time, I had no familiarity with Judith Butler's concept of gender as performance, but what I did recognize were the ways in which I had performed my own gender, how I had spent my life acting the way I thought boys were supposed to act. I felt like one of Sherman's characters, outfitted with an identity that I had constructed based on what I thought was expected of me, an identity that was perhaps recognizably false, one that didn't even belong to me. Beneath the clothes and the haircuts modeled after more popular guys I knew, beneath the affected personality modeled after what I'd seen in movies, what did I really look like? What did I really sound like? Who was I? One of the great things about Cindy Sherman's work is that you don't really get the sense that there's some other real Cindy Sherman somewhere deep beneath all that makeup. Under each performance is another, and under that performance is another still. The closest I felt I came to seeing the real Cindy Sherman was in her clown portraits, in which any pretense of being a real person drops away and the artist shows herself as a pure performer, play acting personified. The sense of unending playfulness with identity is one of the things I find most delightful about Sherman's work. And seeing that work really drove something home for me. Though I'd been living out a constructed persona, I wasn't really having any fun with it. Unlike Cindy Sherman, I had a sense that there was a real me, somewhere deep beneath the role I'd been playing, and there was a huge disconnect between the real me and that role. Beneath all the trappings of masculinity that I placed on myself to fit in, what kind of person did I really want to be? The first step to finding out was doing exactly as Cindy Sherman had done, trying on a bunch of different personas so I could see which one fit. I began trying new clothes and makeup, new ways of being in the world. If before I'd been trying to fit into a mold that met people's expectations of me, now I just wanted to try things that seemed fun, interesting, like something I might actually want to do for myself. Within weeks, it became clear to me that beneath all the performance, there was a real me calling out to be seen. And that real me was a trans woman. In honor of the artist who helped me realize that, when it was time to pick a new name, I decided on Cindy. I wanted to tell this story because it illustrates why I think art is so important. Great art helps us see things differently. It allows us to consider new perspectives, to think about things in a new way, to access parts of our brain we may not have even been aware of. And sometimes, if an artwork is very special, it just might allow us to see ourselves. Thanks so much for watching this one. I know this was a bit different from my other videos, so please let me know in the comments down below if you'd like to see more personal stories like this one. And I'd also love to hear about any times when art has made a big impact in your life. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you learned something new. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.